Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary and I've got a secret to tell you all. And that secret is I'm a Jess Mariano lover first, human second. Thank you so much. I needed to get that off my chest. And now we can continue on with today's video. This has been a video I've been wanting to do for years. I don't know why I haven't done it before, but we are gonna read like Jess Mariano for a week. Jess Mariano's from Gilmore Girls. He is the #1 boyfriend to ever exist, and I stand by that. Nobody can convince me otherwise, and he also has great taste in books. So I thought it would be fun to pick 3 books off of the reading list that, you know, you can find so many of them online. I just looked at them on Goodreads and some other websites and picked 3 to read for this week. And I've actually already read 2, so we're gonna go back in time. But first, I'm just gonna go through all 3 books that I chose to read. We'll see if his taste and my tastes are the same, and if I can actually see Jess's character reading these books and enjoying them, because that I think is also interesting. Without further ado, let's get into all of these 3 books. So I have them here. So the first book we're gonna read is Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. This is such a cult classic book that I have never read before, and I don't think it was ever in any school readings. So that's book 1, short and sweet. Not so much sweet, sorry guys. Not so much sweet, but short. The next book is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. I am a Hemingway lover, so I was very excited to read this book. And this is also another short one, post-World War I book. So 2 kind of war-ish books. Who could ever go wrong with Hemingway, right? Right. And then lastly, we're gonna read Emma by Jane Austen. This one is a little surprising. Through more research that I've done this week, I don't think he ever references this book, but he references Jane Austen. So like all of Jane Austen books are on his reading list, but there's no actual scene where he's reading Emma. I still kept it in this vlog since I picked it before fully diving in and doing my own research of what episodes these books are in. Let's go back almost a week where I start with Slaughterhouse-Five, and then we'll come together here where I am currently reading Emma. I started Slaughterhouse-Five. I'm 25% of the way through, so about 55 pages. I believe I'm only on chapter 3. I don't know how to feel yet. The writing is very unique. It kind of reminds me of J.D. Salinger's writing. I've only read by him. What the heck is that book called? Oh my god. I'm blanking. The one with the orange cover. Wow, I'm blanking. It doesn't matter. It reminds me of his writing. It's very sporadic, constant change of topic. You kind of have to follow along and go for the ride, even if you don't know what the hell he's talking about. Very interesting. But it is a anti-war novel, supposedly, but you're following a narrator. And the first chapter, I was like, who is this narrator? I don't understand. Because it's basically talking about what the book is about and what came, or how the book came to be. And then chapter 2, you start the actual book that is talked about in chapter 1. It's kind of very meta. So we're following the main character, Billy. Interesting guy. Zardy talks about aliens. Yeah. Interesting. Don't know how I feel. I'm just gonna keep reading and go along for the ride and not think about it as much as I am right now. because I think I just need to continue on and see where the story goes. But I wanted to bring that up before I continue because I'm going to read it now, and I've only got 150 pages left, so I could most definitely finish it before checking in again. So I wanted to check in first. I am enjoying it. It's just confusing a little bit. We're done. I was about to say that went by a lot faster than expected. It kind of did, but it also kind of didn't because this is 215 pages, so very short. But I didn't really expect to be that fascinated and engrossed in the story as I was, because there are so many mixed reviews about this book. But overall, I think I'm gonna give it a 4 stars. Very intriguing book, and I'm sorry about my hands. I have ink all over them. I was trying to fill a new fountain pen and I couldn't figure it out, and I got ink everywhere. So this is my first Kurt Vonnegut book. I never read anything by him in the past that I remember. I didn't have to read him in high school, I don't believe so. I think this is in the US curriculum, but I don't think it is in the Canadian curriculum. Could be wrong, but I don't remember ever having to read this book in high school. I didn't know how to feel about it while I was reading it. You know, I was about 50 pages in, and I remember reading this book and I just turned to my boyfriend and I was like, have you ever read anything by this guy? Because his writing is so interesting. It's so sporadic, you know, you're jumping from topic to topic, but yet it's not very confusing. Like, you know what he's talking about. It's just kind of all over the place. And apparently that's just Kurt Vonnegut's writing. I looked into it afterwards because it's just very unique. The phrase that is repeated over and over and over again in this book, "so it goes," I felt like throwing my book across the room every time I read that sentence or phrase. And it was just so fascinating because it really made the scenes or the moments that were supposed to be so heart-wrenching and made it as if, like, you know, life goes on. This happens, whatever, you know, it kind of gave that tone, even though it is a book about this man's experience in war and the collective experience of what war does to you. It's sad, but yet it's not. And then there were parts that made me laugh. I was probably laughing more than I felt sad in this book, even though there were so many traumatic things that were happening left, right, and center. I was also confused, I have to say. Confused in the sense as to like why were certain aspects, like the aliens, a part of the book, but then it really kind of made you feel like you were in the mindset of someone that kind of has mental health issues or PTSD from war. A wild ride. I think this is a very jam-packed, small but mighty book that the more you read, the more you get out of it, the more you unpack, the more meaning you find out of it. I did tab quite a few pages. I did underline quite a bit. Just some of my favorite sentences. Oh, and I underlined this part that the Brothers Karamazov was mentioned in the book. As we all know, it was my favorite book of last year, so I thought that was really fun that that was a part of the book. Oh, and I also love when the title of the book is referenced in the book, and you get that here, so you know the meaning behind the title. Highly enjoyed this, and then yesterday I watched the episode that is in Gilmore Girls where you see Jess reading this book, and this feels like a Jess book. It really does. I love that. It was season 2, episode 19, where Rory is supposed to be tutoring Jess, and then they get into the car accident. There it is. Ah. Look. Now we're going to move on to book 2, and I decided to pick up The Sun Also Rises next. I tried starting this last night before bed, and I got 4 pages in, so I have no thoughts. None at all, but I'm very, very excited to get back into Hemingway's writing. I read him last year, but it was like February, I believe, was when I read A Farewell to Arms. So I am so intrigued and excited to pick up this book. Let's get into this book and see what we feel. I tried looking up the episode that this is featured in, where you see Jess reading it, But I don't think there are any episodes where you see him reading it. He just references Hemingway, and then I know Rory reads The Sun Also Rises in a class. So a little confused as to that, but it's okay. We're still gonna read it because we're here now, and I really, really, really want to get to this book. We are halfway through The Sun Also Rises, so I thought it'd be a good time to give an update on my thoughts. First of all, what a pleasure it is to be back in a Hemingway book. I adore Hemingway's writing, and his books are always just so fascinating, gripping from page one, easy to read, and you are just absorbed and placed into a new world so quickly. I love it. Now that my Hemingway obsession is out of the way, as for the book itself, I am enjoying it. It is very character driven, I have to say. It's about, primarily the synopsis says it's about the two main characters, Jake and Brett. And their kind of like unrequited love and complicated relationship together. But I will have to say, now that I'm halfway through, yes, definitely the story is about Jake because it's from his perspective. But Brett is a character that is quite in and out, but she's also around when she's not in the picture. However, there are so many other side characters in this book that I adore. I think the cast of characters is so fascinating, and they're all quite hilarious when they come together. I've laughed so many times out loud reading this book. It's crazy. It's just a bunch of people in Paris in the 1920s who love to travel. You know, a lot of them have war stories, but it's not the full center of all of their conversations. It is just very like living your life, and there are some writers that are trying to write books, and none of them are quite successful, other than one, but not really. It's just a lot of fun and a lot of laughter. I don't know where the story is gonna go. We'll see. I'm kind of just hanging out. And there's so much dialogue in this book, and I think that's why it's so easy to fly through, because there are some pages that are like straight dialogue. And so very quick and easy to read, and pretty funny. So I'm having a blast. I'm enjoying it. Halfway through. We'll see where it goes. I don't know if it's going to be a 5-star. I'm not feeling the 5-star flutters I typically feel. But I would say at this point it is a good, solid 4-star read. We'll see. My boyfriend gave this book 5 stars, so I'm excited to see why and how the story goes. And then hopefully we finish this today, and then we will start Emma, which I am also very, very excited about. All right, friends, it's been a couple days and I've got lots of book updates. The first is that I finished The Sun Also Rises. Okay, let's get to it. So this I have been sitting on for a couple days, but my first initial rating is the same, and I'm gonna keep it that way, and I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I did think it was gonna be a 5-star read, but I'm not disappointed at all. It was a beautiful book. First and foremost, I'll get it out of the way. Come on. Hemingway's prose is just so beautiful, straightforward, to the point, but yet so wonderfully described and atmospheric. I just can't explain it. He's just so good at writing. It's crazy. And his books tend to be quite short, but they feel like they have so much detail, and every word and sentence has a meaning to it. And I just love that about his books. The characters. Flawed characters, but you can't help but love them and root for them. And there are so many characters that kind of come in and out of this story. I mean, you have your main two, Jake and Brett, who are like the love interest of this book, but then there are a lot of side characters that come in and out. And it's kind of interesting because some of them he gives so much detail to, and you are learning so much and following so many scenes with them, and then other characters not so much. They're kind of just very side characters that kind of come in and out whenever they're hanging out with their friends. But it's very interesting because I was trying to think of like why certain characters are given more, I guess, screen time or writing time than others. And some of them I didn't know why. Kind of staying a mystery to me. But yeah, overall, like you're following these characters post World War I, where you kind of get this sense of like feeling lost and not knowing what to do with their life, and they don't care, or it feels like they don't care that much as to like what their career looks like, what their love life is like. They kind of just move on with life day to day and kind of surviving day to day. And it's gives this kind of, I don't know if eerie is the right word, but it's the only word that's coming to mind, but this like eerie sense of belonging in this world. And then there's some that is just really fun events, especially the bull riding. Like I never thought I would really enjoy writing that is so descriptive about bull riding, but I was here for the ride. I loved it. And then the ending, quite ambiguous, I would say. It is open-ended, but I mean there's only a couple different options of where the ending takes you, but I enjoyed the ending. I think it was quite perfect for how the story unfolds and how the love story unfolds. So I am quite impressed with this book. Didn't think I wouldn't be, but yeah, I loved it. It just wasn't giving me the 5-star feels. I'm sticking with my 4-star. I'm just gonna stick with my gut feeling, even though I want to give all of Hemingway's books 5 stars because I just adore his books and his writing and his storytelling. It's just, it wasn't 5 stars in my heart. And then I started Emma a couple days ago. I am 120 pages through the book, which you would think it would be a lot, but it is not. I think it's a little over 25% of the way through. So far, I'm enjoying it a lot. Emma is hilarious, flawed, but you, again, just love her. The drama in Jane Austen books are just so perfect because you're like obsessed with this drama, and the language is obviously like older language, right? So it's not the slang that we have these days, but it just makes it even better because of that. I don't know. I, through and through, every time I read another Jane Austen book, I fall more and more in love with her writing. And yeah, I'm enjoying the characters. So this book, I don't know if I explain what it's about, but you have Emma, who is like the main character of the story, and she is kind of like a self-proclaimed Cupid. And so she's always in other people's lives and, you know, in their business, but she's someone that's like, no, I'm never gonna get married, but I'm gonna get everyone else married. And so her newest, I guess, person that is on her radar is her cousin Harriet. So she's trying to find her perfect match for Harriet, and it isn't going the way that she's expecting it to go. And it's great. I'm loving it. So I'm gonna continue this book. I'm hoping to finish it very soon because I think today is like the day I wanted to finish this vlog so I can get it up for you all in a couple days. So we're gonna see how far we can get through this book today. Trying my hardest, but I don't want to rush it as well because you never want to rush books, right? So we'll see how it goes. I'm very intrigued to see what happens, and of course what happens with Emma as well, because obviously she's gonna have a love interest, and I'm pretty sure I know who it is because I feel like it's quite obvious, but I'm not gonna make assumptions until things happen. I'll see you all when I have an update or when I finish this book. I finished Emma by Jane Austen yesterday. I had a little clip inserted of me reading, I think, the ending yesterday after work, and I wanted to sit with it for a bit and marinate my thoughts. And I am still sticking with my 4-star initial rating. I feel like I said this with Ernest Hemingway, but I adore Jane Austen's writing, Jane Austen's books. They are so much fun and such a joy to read. And it was no different than with Emma. Absolutely adored it. Her books feel like classic soap operas. They are just filled with drama, filled with such fascinating and fun and unique characters. Her main female characters tend to be a little bit similar, but Emma was just hilarious. She's got a lot of flaws, but you can't help but love her. And Mr. Knightley is just, he calls her out for her shit, and I love it. My one main issue I have with this book is that it felt very long to me. You know, during the middle of it, I was like, this book did not need to be this long. I feel like it could have been shorter. I feel like we explored some characters so in depth that ended up having really no big significance to the story. Like, I would rather have learned more about Emma and more of her story. Yeah, we were learning about her along the whole book and along her quest of being a Cupid for her cousin Harriet. But I feel like I wanted more by the end of the story, and the ending was very rushed when it came to her love story. And then we got so much of other people's love stories in between that I just didn't really care that much about. That's my one thing that I didn't love about this book, but overall adored it, had a fun time. Now, do I think Jess would have liked this book? Possibly. I feel like Jess was a little bit of a hopeless romantic, but like secretive. So I feel like he would like Austen, but I feel like these two are more up his alley. Definitely Slaughterhouse-Five. The Sun Also Rises, I think he would also have enjoyed a lot. Jane Austen, I'm not 100% sure about. But it was a fun week. This was definitely more than a week. It took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but looking back, these are classics. Classics do take me a little bit longer to read, and I feel like I don't like to speed through them. I like to take my time, so it was still a great week. Jess has great taste. We all knew that already. My ratings were 4-star. Initially 4-star, I'm bumping it to 4.5. I haven't stopped thinking about this book since I read it. 4.5 and 4. That's really good, especially with my rating this year where I've given a lot of ratings of 3.5 and below. I count this as a win. So maybe we'll have to do a part 2 because I love these books, and he does have quite a few big books on his list, so I don't know. We might have to look into that. But if you've read any of these books, please let me know down below what you thought about them, if we had the same ratings, if we didn't. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to make, and I definitely want to do some type of part 2 in the future, and maybe also do another installment of reading like Rory Gilmore for a week, because her book list is a lot longer than just Mariano's, and I need to get through that list. So thank you again, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!
Lazy Sunday mornings, hiding under covers. I don't mind staying in with you. Play your favorite movie, laying right beside me. I don't mind when it's just